So yeah, our session is being recorded now. All right, so how are you doing? It's been some time since we spoke.
Indeed. Very, very happy to be here, Vivek. Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to this session.
Very good. And so are our students as well. And like to hear about your career journey, the scenic route, and the visuals. So it will be fun to hear from your, again, this part of tips from the top, sharing your wisdom. So really appreciate you taking time and meeting with us.
Yes.
And so our audience is all the students from our San Jose State MBA program, and all aspiring to be leaders and future leaders.
Indeed.
Marketing, management, operations, finance, you name it. Some are working, some are not, right? Some are full-time students. So, that's the general diaspora, or call it the demographics of your audience.
Wonderful.
How would you like to do this? Would you like to present?
That might be the easiest, I'm wondering.
Okay,
Is it okay if I present?
Oh, absolutely. So I've made you the presenter, and you can share your slides. What would you prefer from students' perspective? Be interrupted? Yeah, I can see.
Let me put on the slideshow.
Yep, I see it.
And let me, first of all, check whether you can see the slide and hear me.
Yes, I can see and hear you fine.
Wonderful. So from a process point of view, my recommendation is that if students can take notes along the way, I will try to cover in about 20-25 minutes.
Got it.
Maybe 30-minute stops. And then I will pause, and then we can open up for questions based upon some of the observations I've made.
Got it. So students, you got it, right? If you have a question or something, maybe put it in the chat as you
Lovely.
And that then we will roll it up.
Even better. If you can put it in the chat along the way,
yes,
then I will make sure that we can discuss those.
Okay, very good. So time is 12 o'clock. And so let's begin, Anurag. So we are super excited to have you. And thank you for taking time in developing this wonderful presentation. I'm looking forward to the scenic journey with you. And so are the students. And with that said, without stealing your thunder of introduction, I'll let you introduce yourself and take it away.
Thank you so much, Vivek. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's always exciting for me to speak to young folks who are starting their career or are early stages of their career. And what I wanted to do today was share with you some of the lessons rather than details of my career that might not be of interest to specifically each of you. And the way I was thinking of structuring is first give you a little bit of introduction. And you can obviously check my name on LinkedIn, but I'll summarize it by saying that my career spans 35 years in businesses large and small. I started out in companies like Procter & Gamble in Midwest, and then I moved to technology, and then I've had experience in working at large and small technology companies. I've had the benefit and privilege of working at early stage tech companies in the Bay Area. I've been a founder. I've done 6 startups ranging from 0 to 100 to 100 million. I was fortunate enough to be chief marketing officer at 2 public companies. And along the way, I would describe myself as a storyteller at heart. And I enjoy having some fun on the side by writing stories that attract me. I started out as an engineer. Everything what I've shared with you over here, you can find in public record. But what I wanted was to go behind the persona of LinkedIn and the profiles of LinkedIn you might find, and share with you a little bit about my journey, the twists and turns, and more importantly, why it should matter to you who is starting out in your careers at this stage. So with that perspective, what I thought I'd do is share with you 12 lessons. And I describe my journey as a scenic route because the first thing I observed is that career growth is never straight. You might be thinking you're going straight and you have a hard job and you're going to stay there for 7 years or whatever your ambition is. And changes happen, market changes, your boss changes, the company changes, and before you know it, you have to figure out whether you are going to stay the course or take a detour. And I have made a career of taking detours. So the scenic route is my metaphor because you think you are taking a detour and that becomes a scenic route that you stay on longer than you think. So I'm going to go through these 12 lessons, and in that I will share with you a little bit more than my professional background and hopefully how I got on these scenic routes. First lesson I would start with is know your roots. Because they can nourish you. Your roots can nourish you. It's all too often when we are young, and especially early starting out in our careers, that we are eager to get away from our roots, our childhood constraints, childhood ambitions, childhood situations, families. In my case, I was born in India, in Delhi, and I grew up in a Punjabi speaking household. My parents were, and my grandparents were, refugees from partition of India.
I don't either, because I made him do it.
Sorry.
Really had him to just write down his address on a piece of.
I think it's okay, Jasmine. Okay, continue. Sorry about that.
Everything okay?
Yeah, yes, I think that was a accidental.
No problem.
Yeah, okay.
I grew up in a Punjabi household and in a refugee household, and I was fortunate. My father was a diplomat, and I traveled in multiple countries before going to college. All of that was something that shaped me. And for many years, I was not sure what to make of it because every one of us has a unique childhood. And for me, the biggest lesson was to own my past rather than let it own me, which means that ever so often I go back and look at, Punjabi as a language that I grew up with and then I forgot. And along the way, I learned to speak it just because it was part of my heritage that I had not really focused on, but at one point in my adult life, I thought I should. And I did, and I'm glad I did. Similarly, when I was growing up, I wasn't sure whether that much of travel was good for me as a child. But eventually, I started enjoying travel, and I loved it. And in fact, now relish traveling all across the globe. So that's the first lesson. Whatever your roots are, make sure you get a chance to integrate it and nourish you. The reason is, all throughout your career, you will revisit and re-examine your roots. And that's an important lesson of coming back to where you are from and who you are. Second is your path as you start making choices in career will depend on chances you take and the choices you make. And in my case, I was fortunate that some paths were chosen for me. And some I got to create and some I kind of backed into or fell into. Education was a path that was chosen for me, and I'm very thankful that my parents spent a lot of their effort and time in making sure that I was well educated, in fact, beyond even their means, because that is not something one can take for granted. And I was fortunate for that. And then I took a chance to come to leave India in college, and that was a journey. That was a decision I made. And it was a big decision back then, not easy to leave all the family and friends. And how I made to US was through a circuitous path. I was working in South America as an oil engineer. I had never been to US. I decided to save money enough so that I could pay for my education. And that opened the door for me to come to US. So I summarize by saying that in your 20s and 30s, the choices and chances you take will shape you. And it's okay. Some of it will be shaped for you, and some of it you will have to place a bet on. Take those bets early, is my view on this. the choices you make will reveal their importance and significance in hindsight. Sometimes we are not sure about the plunge, the job, the career, and we jump in. But as we are going through it, and if you're reflective enough, you will start reflecting on the choice itself while you're going through it. And I think as you're living through your choices, you discover what part of the choice you thought you made that was good and what part wasn't. A simple example for me was after I came to this country as a student, I was doing MBA, I was an engineer. I thought I would want to study finance because somehow that was what I thought would make a lot of money for me. I was an MBA in a school and I discovered that I hated finance. And because it was too close to my engineering, too much numbers, I'm good with numbers, but that wasn't what really motivated me. I took some courses in marketing, fell in love. So there you have it. As I was living through those choices, I discovered that I needed to make those changes, but I had the opportunity to sit and reflect and kind of make those changes along the way. And as a result of my switch, I was able to get a job at Procter & Gamble, which was a marketing-related brand management job. And I was very happy with that job. And had I not made some of those changes along the way, I would have probably regretted some of the decisions and directions I would have taken. Another lesson is, this is an important one, choose with care the hill and the hierarchy you climb. It's very natural when you're starting out in your career to choose a profession, choose a line that you happen to stumble into because you took some courses in college, you got your first job in there, maybe even the second job, and you got, quote unquote, you're now beginning to climb that hill by figuring out, how to get the promotion, what the top looks like. And it is very important to realize and reflect that you're climbing the right hill. I've seen so many folks who spend 10, 15, 20 years climbing a hill that might not be that interesting to them, or might even not be that fruitful for them financially or otherwise. There are two aspects to it. One is the hill you're trying to climb, the sector you choose, the profession you choose. And the second is, what are the operational guidelines on how you get better at it? Is there a well-established path and hierarchy to get to the top, right? And we all get to learn that by talking to peers and mentors and friends who have been ahead. In my case, I was doing quite well at Procter & Gamble as a brand manager. It was a large company, Fortune 10 company, very hierarchical. And one day I realized after 5, 6 years of working there that I did not enjoy the consumer packaged goods industry as much because it wasn't, I had more of a technical background and I had some technical passion. I wanted to use my technology insights and learnings. That was important to me. Internet, early stages of internet was happening. I felt that I would be able to contribute to that because of my technical background. And more importantly, I realized that the company was too large for my particular aptitude. And so I decided that, okay, maybe that's not the hill I want to climb. For next 20 years, go up the ladder in that company. And most important question for you is that when you're trying to figure out which hill to climb and what hierarchy, is that will that climb or the hierarchy take the best in you, will bring out the best in you? Because if it doesn't, then the more time you spend in that domain and in that skills that you're developing, the more it will chafe against you, your natural inclinations. So think about that. And the best way to find that is by talking to people who are ahead of you, who are 2, 3, 4 rungs ahead, and say, what did it take for you to get there? And what skills do you really enjoy using are necessary for you to succeed over there? Anyway, I've thrown a link of another article that I found extremely helpful called Climbing the Wrong Hill. You can Google it. Another lesson, you will need to change often the story of who you are. We all get enamored by self-definition, the story we create for ourselves. Very early, you will start saying, I'm an engineer, so that's why I do this. I am a communications manager, or I am so and so. Like whatever label you start putting on yourself, be very careful of it. Don't hold on to the label too much, because what's going to happen is in your career, you will reach a point, whether because you're frustrated with your job or not sure where to go, where you have to redefine who you are. I was a brand manager. I wanted to become somebody else. And I wanted to be a tech entrepreneur. And that was a big journey for me. So the first thing I had to do was to say, okay, here I am, brand manager at a consumer packaged goods company in Cincinnati, Ohio. I want to be a tech entrepreneur. What do I go about? What do I do to become that? Right? So that was the first thing, to start imagining what it takes. I started talking to all the people who were tech entrepreneurs who would talk to me. I started talking to all the people who were not even tech entrepreneurs, who were in large tech companies, and say, what does it take to get there, right? So that jump for me started with understanding and realizing that if I'm not happy with the hill I'm climbing, I need to climb another hill. And if I'm interested in a different hill, then how do I go about exploring that? And that's what I did. I spent a lot of time. And part of that story, the story of who you are, the changing your own story, is also changing your own scenery. What I mean by that is, it forced me and my wife to move out of Cincinnati. And I took a job which was a slightly different, perhaps even a lower paying job in tech. I worked over there for a few years to realize what it meant. I realized which part of tech I liked. And then at some point, we decided that, okay, I'm going to go for it. And the change of scenery meant when I was trying to start a company of my own, I couldn't get any funding in Chicago at that time. That's where I lived. So I talked to a lot of people, and they said, okay, if you are going to start a company and you need funding, you have to be in San Francisco Bay Area. And that was a big move for us. As an immigrant, we didn't have enough roots, so it was easy for us to, at some level, pick up our bags, buy one-way tickets and show up in Bay Area in 1999. But all of that transition from being a brand manager in the large company, doing well, to being a top entrepreneur in San Francisco Bay Area was a 4-year journey, but it took a lot of reimagining of who I am, how to hustle to get there through series of steps, some sideways and some through detours. Other important lesson I would give you is that you should risk failing. And that is that doesn't mean you lose your shirt and go back to the street. I grew up in a refugee household, so I was always careful of the downside. You could lose everything. And one of the biggest things I took away was that you carry what's in your head, not the assets that you have. The only assets you have is in your skull, your skills, and your education. So you should risk failing. And my point of view is you should risk failing at a worthy goal. If you're gonna go take a big chance, start a company, start a new career, start your own business, make it worthwhile failing. A worthy goal means to me something that is bigger than you, something that is, if you're moved by it, you're scared by it, but you know that you will regret if you don't do it. That regret is a very important thing, because that means that you have the desire to go chase that. And it's okay if you fail, but at least even in failure, you will learn that. In my case, I failed. My glorious failure was at my first company that I started, that I moved over here. Market crash of 2001 happened, and I had raised more than $23 million. I had 100 people working, blue chip companies as customers, and then with the crash happened, the company actually had to be shut down. Zero regret for me for doing that, because I learned a lot in that failure. I learned what it takes to start a company. It stripped away the fantasy, stripped away what it means to take the risk, and I carried those lessons and I applied it. So, which brings me to the next point. Failure or success. You should think of your career as what I call play the infinite game. And what's an infinite game? Infinite game is, there's a fantastic book called Finite Games and Infinite Games, but finite game is something you play to win and win or lose. You have a very simple scorecard, sports and others, like, can I get to the next promotion? Boom. Yes, I got it, or I didn't get it. Can I hit a target of so much money I want to save or make? Yes, I got it, I didn't get it, etc. Infinite game is the game you play for the game to continue playing because you enjoy the game. Some of the best games in life are infinite games. You don't want it to end. So playing the infinite game means going back and keep doing what you're doing. But the biggest twist is keep building on your strengths. So discover what you're best at as you work through your career and keep evolving your strengths, keep sharpening them, and then evolve and keep playing that. In my case, after I left my first failed startup, I said, okay, what do I want to do? Do I go back to the large company I came from? They would have taken me back. Do I do something else? I knew what I loved as part of the entrepreneurial experience. And I also knew what I didn't much care for. So here I was. I started out with that. I started for the next 20 years, decided to stay in tech, decided to stay in small companies. And I've gone through various stages where I first became a tech product leader. I really enjoyed building tech products. So for a couple of companies, I was building tech products for them. I was the first product management person inside the company. Later on, I came back to my roots of marketing. I had grown up in brand marketing, but now I enjoy tech marketing. And I did that for several companies. In fact, I had a chance to be a CMO of a technology company that was acquired by Google. And I was at Google. And in Google, they also gave me an opportunity to create a new teams for solutions, building solutions in technology. And that was a wonderful experience. That was an evolution of my product experience and marketing experience combined together at Google. So what I'm saying is, if you look at the journey I took 6 startups, 1 IPO, 2 large companies. But the pattern underneath that was common was that the game I was playing was continue to evolve myself, continue to learn and see what I wanted to do. And in doing that, keep playing the game. Other thing is, be alert to opportunities. If you know what you value and what you're good at, and you're learning, be open to non-obvious opportunity. Be alert to things that come to you. Be prepared for that. As they say in psychology, be primed for that. And success will surprise you. Success is never, in my experience, comes directly the way you were hoping and planning. You just look at the opportunities, they show up disguised. They don't quite show up packaged for you to say, do I take job A or job B because it has been shrink wrapped for me as 2 offers. Never does that. But if you're ready for it, and your success at a particular job, it might, invariably, it's very slow in the beginning. You're learning the craft. You're learning, it can take 2, 3, 4 years. And then once you have built your craft, once you build your credibility, then success happens very suddenly. So serendipity, chance played a huge role in that career. When you look at the LinkedIn resume of anybody, not just mine, you don't see all these moving parts behind, right? Moving to Bay Area was a chance I took, right? Getting funded was a chance. There was a huge chance in how I got funded. I connected with somebody I had known earlier. How I joined the startup team for the first time was, I pitched to a VC who turned me down for money. And many years later, when I was looking for a job, ended up giving me a job. How I became a CMO was a cold call I received. I was looking not to take the call. And it was a cold call. I'm glad I took it. And it turned out to be the first opportunity I had to run a public company, the CMO of a public company. Working at Google was also a chance for me. I was working at a company that had a successful IPO, and the company was acquired by Google. If you had asked me 2 years earlier, hey, listen, do you want to work at Google? I would have said, I have no idea. How would I ever get there? So I'm saying, be open to chances, be open to opportunities, and success will surprise you. That's what I've observed. Be careful of chasing status and prestige, especially when you're very young. it's very easy to fall into what is called mimetic desire. There's a great phrase called, we are all status monkeys, status-seeking monkeys. That's primal to human beings because we are primates. All primates have that behavior. And it's very, very careful. You have to really fight your inner, we all fall for it. We all fall for it. We all want the next kudos, the next social media, influencer status. And we all have role models we are pining for. Be careful of the role models you choose. If you chase the wrong role models, you can be miserable. So actively reflect on the people you admire and you chase. It'll shape you. And these are some of the things we all fall for. Just signaling on social media, shallow work and moving on, fake titles that don't really have any substance behind it, but we all get to be grand poobah of whatever we want to be. My favorite joke on that, it was when I was at startup, was somebody was looking for same job, same everything, more title. I said, just go print a card, write yourself CEO of yourself and get the title. What's the big deal? So just be very careful of chasing status and prestige. Which is the other piece, which is keep a tally of your inner scorecard. To me, the inner scorecard is different than what shows up on your social status or on your LinkedIn or on your resume. Your inner scorecard is the decisions you make, the tough decisions you make. Most of the tough decisions you will make, even professionally, will be in closed rooms. Will be when you have to hire somebody, fire somebody, layoffs, when you have to sell, buy a company, an asset, a big program. These are consequential decisions in your career. And similarly, in your personal life, of course, you will make all the decisions around family, relationships, community, health, etc. My only point is keep an inner scorecard, keep a tally of what, and do the right thing. And the rule is, even if nobody ever finds out, that's the test. And to me, that's the secret to sleeping really well at night and living well with your conscience. Make sure that we do that. And then seek a few people, not many, seek a few people along your journey in your career who will bet on your best self. This is important. Sometimes we can't see ourselves very clearly because we're too tied up in our own ego. And we have some mentor, a partner, a peer, a family member, an investor, somebody who gets to see parts of you that are really good. And there's sometimes, if you're lucky, they see it even better than you can. Find those people, few people, and then be with them. Find out, help them help you. I have had many mentors and role models, like a family elder who came to this country in 70s. He was my role model when I was growing up. Otherwise, I would never have left India because I did not have an imagination that somebody growing up in India could go to US. I just happened to have an uncle who was here in 70s. And the fact that he did that was alone a role model. A boss who bet on me early and promoted me early, right? Saw what I could do. An investor whom I met on a flight, I liked, he and I hit off, bet on me, still a friend. A professor from my alma mater whom I met really helped me out in the startup, and so on and so on. And these things don't show up, again, in your resume or in your professional experiences easily, but seek out a few of those people who can help you out. And keep working on your ikigai. This is a beautiful, beautiful Japanese concept. Ikigai is the reason you wake up in the morning. Some people call it your calling. Very few of us are lucky enough to have a calling that we can find out. Like if you want to be a solo musician artist, it's very hard, even if you have the talent, even if it's your calling, to be able to live that. So it's okay to have a job and a career that may not be your calling. But I do believe that it is important to keep open the door, even if it's 10% of the time, on stuff that feeds your soul. It could be anything. It could be somebody playing guitar. It could be somebody doing plays. It could be somebody doing some nonprofit work. Whatever it is that just feeds your soul, do that along the way, even when you're busy building a career, even if it's 10% of the time. For me, what it turned out to be was I loved writing, and I've now started writing about business. I wrote a play along the way. I translated poetry, made a small documentary. None of it was commercial. None of it is significant commercially, but it is my way of, keep going and doing things that I love. Because at certain stage of life, it allows you to go through the dark patches. And more importantly, if you're lucky later in your life, you might even turn that into something. Which comes back to my last point. If you get lucky in your career, be humble, pay forward. It is very important that you don't fall for over attribution error. There's a fundamental attribution error, which means that all success happened because of me, all failures happen because of others. Right? Life is more complicated than that. There are a lot of people who get lucky in success and lucky in failure also, unlucky in failure also. So just be humble, just understand exactly what you contributed and how you got to where you did, and then pay forward, because by the time you're successful at peak of your career, you will owe it to others who helped you to pay forward to the next generation. And at the stage I'm at in my career, I'm now just full-time mentoring tech companies, founders, coaching and teaching, and supporting some nonprofits. So there it is, the lessons from the journey of a tech entrepreneur. I thought I'd keep it to a dozen, like a good carton of eggs. Pause right here.
No, very good. Very good. Yeah, heartwarming and very practical. And thanks for also sharing your, your life journey. Definitely, I'll say it was a scenic route. And I think the journey continues. It has not come to this 12th milestone or the lessons that you have learned. It's I think, moving forward. So Anurag, on that note, then, since this journey continues, what are your thoughts for the future? Where are you going with all this? What's your vision? What's the next step of the scenic route?
Vivek, I'm actually at a very interesting point, and you and I connected
Yes.
over a wonderful lunch, where we decided, where you were guiding me as well, helping me. Where I am is, I'm going through a transition of being an operator, meaning somebody who has been in operating roles at these companies, to being a coach and a mentor.
Oh, very good.
So that journey for me has just started. I would say I'm at kindergarten level right now, just started 6 months ago. And I'm looking forward to next few years, how I learn the skills of being a mentor, being a coach. I've done that as part of my ikigai, as part of my sharpening my own passion. I've done that on the side for the last 10 years, a bit of coaching, etc. But it has been 10%, so to speak. And now I'm trying to make it, maybe even 70, 80% of it.
Fantastic. Good. We should chat. Any questions, students? Any things that came to your mind?
I have a question.
Yeah, go, Amrinder.
First of all, thank you so much, Mr. Wadehra. It's been a very informative session. My question is, as someone who aspires to be an entrepreneur and someone who has like ideas running through their head all the time, I find it that when I want to take action, there's always competing responsibilities. Like I can never find the right time to just take the step and move forward with my idea. Something, life just happens to happen around that time. Is there any advice you can give to people like me who have big ideas but are really scared to just take that first step?
Amrinder, right? Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Amrinder, that's a wonderful question. It's a harder question than you think it is.
Yeah, it really is. I've read, people are like, don't think too much, just jump, but it's not so easy when you have so much on the line.
That's right. So my biggest advice is that never is risk-taking all or nothing, right? So what you need to do is don't let the flame go out. If you have some passion and idea, don't say, oh, that's not going to happen. Let's just forget it. It's too risky. I don't have the money. What if I lose? What if I don't succeed? What if I get a setback in career by 5 years? All that stuff is what your rational mind tells you. Therefore, that just says it's just better to give up. The thing to do is whatever your passion is, an idea for business, idea for creative, etc. You have to let it nurture, let the flame keep burning, and you have to create priority for nurturing that. That doesn't mean you have to jump from the deep end and just say, okay, I'm going to quit my job and do everything. But it could mean that I'm going to put aside an hour a day or an hour on Saturday morning. That's it. Don't underestimate the power of compounding. Even if you put aside 2 hours a week on a topic that you want to learn about or experiment or explore, that's more than 100 hours a year. That's a lot of time for you to have figured out something. So my biggest advice to you would be just be in the game, even if it is a few hours a week, and just pursue what you need to do in very, very small baby steps. And same is true when you are trying to make career changes. People try to think you can't leap across tall buildings in one single swoop like Superman does or something, right? So you have to take baby steps towards exploring a new career. The point is not to be disheartened and not to self-censor yourself, and just put aside, make it a priority, and you'll be surprised how far you can go. Join a community of people who are in the same stage, who are starting out. Find a mentor, join a community, hang out with people who are in the same place as you are, or maybe just a little bit ahead. That's what I would do.
Great, thank you. That was very, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Amarinder. There are a few questions, Anurag, on the chat. One is from Laura, and her question is for you. Was it something you wanted to do and you decided to do now and now regret? Are there any regrets, basically? If I phrase it right, Laura, for you, how do you deal with this? Right.
That's a lovely, lovely question. Regret is a very natural part of the journey, right? Especially when we take a road. By definition, it means that we decided not to choose a different path. And regret is, so the short answer I have is that the best way out of regret after the fact is gratitude. If you have gratitude along the way for the choices you've made and the decisions you've made, regret is less, believe it or not. And before you get to the stage, you have to be honest enough with yourself to say, if I don't do something, take a job or pursue a career, pursue an idea, will I regret it 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now or later in my life? And that's a very important question to ask before or while at the point of decision. So I've asked those questions, and many of the really hard decisions in my life, I decided that it was worth for me to take the risk, because I could not live with my future regret. I could not live with not having taken that chance. Once you have that sense in you that this decision is big enough that I will regret it for a long time if I don't take it, then you should take it. That's a very important factor in your head. So 2 things. Gratitude really helps you minimize. Final point is, you have to live your own life, and you can't be hard on the choices you make, because all you can do from regret is learn, because What was it that you were thinking that made you make a choice that forced you to regret later on? Maybe there's a lesson in there, and maybe you're willing to receive that lesson that you were not willing to receive when you were making that decision.
Mhm. Very well said. Okay, there's one more. Because this is live session, Kopal, do you want to ask the question directly? I see that you have your question in the chat box. Kopal Khandelwal, are you there? Or maybe you're on mute. Okay, maybe I'll ask on her behalf. So Kopal is asking at what, oops, okay, I lost my chat window. Just hang on one second. Okay, at what stage or age one should focus on doing what you like and not only focus on financial status as immigrants, especially?
That's
At
an
what stage
excellent
do you
question.
mean? So yeah.
That's an excellent question. And there is obviously no easy answer or the right answer for everybody has to live according to their needs. All I can answer is that we all live with the constraints of financial, immigrant, and other constraints of life. What you have to do is really look inside you and say, which of those constraints are real to you and which of those you're accepting just because others said so.
Mhm.
That's it. Because you might say, okay, there's a financial status I need to achieve because I don't have it. And that is X, whatever that X is, right? It's yours to define, not others. Others might tell you that, you haven't reached financial status unless you do A, B, and C, unless you have so much in the bank, unless you have so much net worth. All that is defined by others, but you have to at some point wake up and say, that is for me. And live with some of, and understand that and live with some of that, because all those things will come with trade-offs. As you said, the trade-off could be, okay, I need to work 5 more years. Trade-off could be, I'm done. I don't need to work 5 more years. I'm ready to do what I wanted to do earlier. But that no one can answer you till you answer the questions of what's important to you in these milestones and the measures. And that's why I was saying there's a scorecard that is external. I want that title, I want that money, I want that net worth. And there's a scorecard that's internal, like, family, health, relatives, and even pursuing other passions. So keep a scorecard on both sides, and then you look at it at least once a year.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Kopal says, right, makes sense. And thank you to you too. She's in a noisy place, so that's why I'm relaying on her behalf. Questions, guys? I mean, you can ask directly to Anurag. He's live here. Or you can also put it in the chat and I can, narrate that question as well. Any others? Okay, maybe while you guys are thinking about all of this, let me ask, Anurag, by the way, pardon me because I become a student. So I'm your student right now. So don't consider me as a professor or a teacher. I'm learning from you. I'm absorbing from you all the wonderful words of wisdom and things that, I could also implement in my life. So with that said, as you were mentioning about, I think, number 7, play the infinite game, right? And in that process, you said, and number 8, kind of related, be alert to the opportunities. Success will surprise you. Talking about that, how much of this is luck factor? I sometimes wonder. Any comment on luck? And I mean, I'm sure you're very lucky, right?
Absolutely.
In hindsight, we are lucky, but how do I create luck for myself?
So that's such an important question, Vivek, right? I think we can see luck in others. It's hard to see luck in ourselves. And that's a blind spot. We should be careful. When we look at other people who are extraordinarily successful, a billionaire or somebody who made a lot of money or just got lucky in lottery or other places, etc., we tend to see luck in others. Oh, isn't that person lucky?
Yes.
And so I think it's worth reflecting on luck we get, the lucky breaks we get. And I think, and that alone starts with gratitude. The more you observe, that's why I said to the first one is important to me. Like, we can know your roots, and sometimes we wish we were somebody else, we were born somewhere else, or we were like some other person. So you have to go back to your roots and say, I was lucky in whatever roots I got, whatever luck of the genetic lottery I got, whatever luck I got, I was lucky. So I think reflecting on your own luck will hopefully drive some gratitude, build some gratitude. That is important. That is about just reflecting on luck. But then I think there is this idea of preparing to get lucky.
Yes.
And that I think is what you're asking about. And that I think is a mindset. And that can be definitely cultivated. I have seen so many people who are successful and have a mindset of, zero sum. I don't know. I can't let go of the path I am. I'm lucky to have gotten this job, but now I can't let go of this job because this came from luck. And I don't know how to create another break in another job somewhere.
Yeah.
That's a mindset where you are hostage to your past luck. Right? Rather than say, okay, I was lucky in some areas, but now I need to figure out how to improve my chances of luck. And that is what I meant by playing the infinite game, that luck can be, you can create conditions under which you can get lucky. And that means you have to be open to opportunities, open to reinventing yourself, open to knowing what will move you, fulfill you. So my metaphor is open to taking the scenic route, open to that exit that says, there's a vista point, do you want to take it or not? So you have to be open to that. And that is a skill that one can be prepared for.
Got it.
And that requires, knowing a little bit about yourself and what will move you, what will motivate you. And your friends and mentors can tell you. And then when the opportunity shows up, it might show up as a cold call. It might show up as a friend doing something that you didn't realize. And if you are primed for it, you will feel it in your heart and you will say, yeah, I got to do it. The time is now right.
Got it. Very good. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you for taking time in answering that. All right, students, I give you time to think also. So any questions for Anurag?
I got a question.
Yeah. Ricky,
Yes.
go ahead. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for this presentation. There's a lot of good information. I got a question regarding startup. So usually having a start company, the most challenging part would be getting the first batch of customer to trust your services. So how you can get those maybe first 100 customers to trust your platform so that you can moving on? So can you give us some advice?
Excellent question, Ricky. Is this, are you doing a startup? Is it a personal question? Meaning, is it tied to the company you are part of?
Yeah, I'm starting up my own company. Yeah, so I certainly see this is getting the customer is the most challenging part of to be a founder of a company. So we'd like to see how you overcome those challenges.
Yes, it's for first-time founders or for any founder, getting the first customer, especially if you are, whether you are a consumer company and you're trying to get your first few hundred or thousand users, or you are in a business company and you want to get your first enterprise customers, there is no right answer other than you need to hustle through your network, right? And you need to go through your network, go through references, go through your connections. But more importantly, what you need to do is by that time, have a very clear value proposition that you think you will, that will resonate to the prospect and customer. Mm-hmm. And very often first-time founders are not confident or not clear about their own value proposition to the customer. They might be clear about their product and they might be willing to talk a lot about the product. And that's a very common mistake because you're a founder and you're passionate about the technology or the product you've created. But what's really important is if you're very clear about the customer value you are looking to generate and potentially can generate based on the confidence you have in the technology and the product, then that value you can create will be interesting enough and you will be confident enough that if you were given an opportunity to talk to a prospect or a customer, they will resonate. So my short answer is create a customer-centric value and then go do meetups, communities, online connections, every which way to get in front of prospects and try pitching it.
Yeah, great. And you see some of those accelerator company, right? Just like YC, they emphasize every week you need to have a 10% growth so that your startup will be getting more pitchable or more successful. So what do you think about this 10% weekly growth in your mind?
So these are, just as an aside, I write on growth and tech, and you can check out my newsletter called Growth Matters on Substack, Ricky, that discusses a lot of this. But in short, I think these are all rules of thumb. The important point for a startup, particularly in tech, is that your product value proposition to the customer should be much, much better than simply 5% better, 6% better, right? So you have to be 5-10 times better in how you deliver value than other competitors. Mm-hmm. And the reason that's important is that people don't want to take a chance on an unknown startup. So you have to have something that is much better. And the proof of that is customer growth, right? It can't be just better and you're sitting. So if you are hitting the right value proposition with your product and your value proposition is truly 5-10 times better, then over time, you should be demonstrating high growth, multiple digit growth, whether it's 10%, 15%, that varies a lot. That's just a rule of thumb. I wouldn't focus on that, particularly in early stages when you're still discovering product market fit. You have to experiment a lot with different kind of customers, etc. So my short answer is focus on value confirmation, value proof, and then build that repeatedly and you'll start seeing growth. And that's the evidence everybody's looking for.
Great. I got one last question. And people think that the best marketing campaign is using the mouth-to-mouth campaign because it's a zero user acquisition cost. And what do you think about to achieve this kind of mouth-to-mouth marketing campaign?
In principle, that works. It's a good idea if you can get it. For example, take Tesla. Have you seen a Tesla advertising billboard?
No,
because Tesla doesn't spend any money on advertising. Zero.
They got a long waiting list, right?
Exactly. They have a great product. The value proposition is very clear. The people who are early adopters of Tesla speak a lot, and there are a lot of people waiting to buy their product. They don't need to advertise, right? So in principle, what you're saying is correct. In practice, it's a little bit more complicated because you have to build a product and you have to have a value proposition that is so good that the word of mouth will work. And that is very often not the case.
Great, thank you.
Other questions? No? Come on, one last question. Maybe I'll volunteer people. Not that I want to kill the time, but I think Anurag has taken time to be here, and I think we should tap onto his brain as much as possible. So any question? Elizabeth, Shabnam, John?
I actually wanted to say this presentation was very different than what I expected. It was more like kind of followed like a Zen kind of path. So that was kind of very honest and really came from a place of truth. So it like I really enjoyed, like sometimes when we hear presentations, some are just, how to make money, how to do this, and this was realistic, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I do have like my great grandparents, the same background. They came like partition and all that stuff. So it kind of resonated. It was very touching. So I just wanted to say thank you for being real about everything, So
Thank you, Shabnam, for your kind words.
you're welcome.
Very good. I saw some raise of hand and then it dropped. So I'm sure you got your question answered. Last minute thing before we start the wrap up, because some of you I also know have a 1 o'clock appointment to go back to work. So respecting your time as well and respecting Anurag's time, who has graciously been here. Maybe Anurag, any last minute, or how would you wrap this up? Concluding comments.
I've said what I had to say. My biggest truth I would leave you with is that if you are starting out, by definition, everybody in this call is a young, ambitious person who's looking to succeed in the world above and beyond where they started. So, and I would say just enjoy the journey, play the infinite game, and be true to yourself.
Clearly, thank you, Anurag, for your kind words and words of wisdom. This is our tips from the top today. And in fact, we got 12 tips, so which is fabulous. And as a student, I learned a lot. And as some of the students also resonated with you, you were speaking from your heart, and this is honest, upfront discussion, no sugarcoating to it. And that's what we like, actually. We can do, again, I always believe, and what you did actually demonstrated that you can do, big things with small heart, but small things with big heart. And what you just did in this 45 minutes is small thing that will make a big impact on our lives. So really, thank you, Anurag, for doing this. You've got a very good heart, golden heart, keep it. And students, you can connect with Anurag. I think he's a man of wisdom. And genuine wisdom, so tap on, and that's one of the things he also mentioned. Network, get your mentors, coaches, and he's, I think, leading into that direction also, so more than welcome. Anurag, would you be okay to connect on LinkedIn with some of the students?
Sure.
They sent?
Drop me a LinkedIn note. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Students, you have an assignment, you complete that. I have recorded this session, and I'll be sharing that on our website as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.